We should be live, Casey.
We are not live yet.
Okay.
We are not live yet.
The bird has not landed.
Okay, somebody say something.
Somebody say something. Audio check.
Okay, somebody say something.
Okay,
Yeah,
there
we're
go.
good. We
All
can
right,
hear
are
it.
Good. All right. So, intro. Good morning, everybody, on this festive holiday weekend. It is Coach Dan, and from left to right, it is Coach Ryan, it is Coach Casey, and this is Coaching Over Coffee. I'll bring it to you on this Christmas Eve, Christmas
Close.
Eve. I was Festivus. All right. How's everyone doing this morning? How are you guys feeling?
I'm actually very, very uncomfortable prior to our conversation that we just had,
Okay.
how we open up the podcast. That's just off pod talk,
Yeah.
but I just, I know a little bit about people that I might not like to know.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fair.
That's
Same.
true, right?
Yeah.
Right? We're going to go to Lowe's and we're going to get a chainsaw for him.
Please stop. I'm uncomfortable because Dan's sweater is too tight.
Oh, leave it.
It's actually my sweater.
It's your sweater. That's the uncomfortable part of all this. But it's Buddy the Elf. Look at
Yeah.
Smiling's my favorite.
Bros are my favorite. That's a bra for a guy.
Okay. He needs one.
It's a bro.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm gonna eat this all day. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take it. So the topic of today is gratitude during this holiday season, and we have decided to take the 5 things that we are most grateful for right now, and expand on it and talk about it.
Let's take off the table the bullshit answer of, "Oh, I'm grateful for the fact that I'm with you guys right now,"
Yep.
Okay.
because that's a given. That's a cliche one. I know you both have on your notes.
I actually don't.
Okay, I think that you're a liar.
I'm not a liar.
Okay,
You can look at it.
I don't look at your notes. I can't peek over your shoulder
No, you're
anymore.
not allowed to.
No.
Okay, so since you're the one that's always so prepared, what's the first thing that you're most grateful for?
Well, can we first identify what it means to be grateful for something?
Okay, so let's go therapy talk too.
Okay.
What's the difference between being grateful and happy?
I think maybe they go hand in hand.
I don't think so. I think you can be grateful and be miserable.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
I think that we get very caught up sometimes thinking about the things we're unsatisfied with in our lives, maybe being unhappy, that we forget to take time to express the things that we're grateful for.
That it could always be worse.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. But I do think that when you do take time to reflect, it can bring some sort of joy and happiness to
Yeah.
your life, no matter what circumstances you're facing.
I think it changes perspective a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. I do feel that you can be happy without being grateful too. Like you can you can have all this good stuff in your life, but if you're not really grateful for it, you can't appreciate it.
Sure.
Like that's just my take on it. Simply because you look at one of the things on mine, we can touch on it later, is health. I don't think people take their health as
Yeah, as they're grateful for it.
Exactly.
Until it gets taken away from them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No.
So
So, Case, what's the first thing?
I think the most important and the first thing that I'm thankful for reflecting on this past year is probably self-growth. I used to look for a lot of external validation instead of looking inward and just being able to validate my actions myself. So that's probably number 1 on my list.
Cool. When do you think that changed for you?
I always revert back to being a teacher in my career and not necessarily being happy, but I think it goes back a lot further than that of I guess almost being raised in a way where I was kind of taught to just go with whatever the flow was and make sure other people are happy first, which I think part of that can be empathy. So I don't think it's always a bad thing, but at the same time, if it's negatively affecting you and your mental health, that it is a problem.
Right.
And I think my parents are both very kind people. They also didn't have the tools to unlearn some of those things that they were conditioned to believe as well. So
It's nice at 20-something years old that you could actually see that, identify that, and change that. Because I don't think there's a lot of kids that are your age or even adults
Yeah.
that are our age or older that can identify that, fix that, correct that,
yeah.
or even assist with that,
Mm-hmm.
and have those dialogues with said people and say hey, this is what I went through. This is what I've learned. Maybe you could help,
Yeah.
And I think like you touched on it, like your parents working with the best tools that they had at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, think about the fact that in Ryan and my lifetime, the conversation of mental health has drastically changed,
Yeah.
especially in young men.
Sure.
Okay. And then look at the fact that we're able to like intake all this cool stuff. Now you are light years, in my opinion, ahead of where we were at that age as far as that goes. So that when the time comes for you to have a kid, like you'll be able to be like, okay, you can readjust and relearn and overcome certain adversities. And I
Yeah.
think that that's an important thing to take away.
I think you have now a responsibility because you learn that stuff to share that stuff.
I agree.
You know, and I don't care about your age and experience, whatever. I think knowledge is power, but you know, I think it's selfish of people if they just hoard it.
Agreed.
You know, and look how drastically it impacted your life, and it's the first thing that you label as what you're grateful for. Imagine if you could share that with somebody else and they do the exact same thing next year.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this, you know, flooding of positivity and impacting people. And I think that's what it takes is just, you know, a certain amount of people to do that.
Yeah. You're next, Dan.
Oh, okay. I'll always go to my number one. I'm grateful to be a father, and I am also grateful for the opportunities to see my kid grow. I mean, it would be easy for me to just say Logan and leave it at that. But the fact is that looking at him and seeing him grow into a young man is an extreme honor, but it also kind of humbles me at the same time because like my actions are they directly affect him. And it's almost like he is the checks and balances at times that I need in order to try and be better. But also the cool part about that is being a better dad to him has helped me, you know, in other facets of life, like within here, because I find myself working with like younger athletes and I'm like, well, how would I want my son's coach coaching him? Like what kind of tidbits would I want that to be? So it's like, it's always in the back of my mind, like, dude, you're first and foremost, I think if I had to identify myself as anything is like, I'm a dad first. And if that means I'm a dad to him, but also like that father figure to other people, Lucas, for example, you know, like that means like so much to me and I'm grateful for it every day. Whether he knows it or not, I'm sure he does. He listens to this.
Knows or feels.
I would hope both.
Yeah.
I would honestly hope both. What are you grateful for, boss man?
I think the support and lack of support too that we get in here, you know, and I think you can't have one without the other. And I think the lack will magnify the support, you know, where there are haters out there and that's okay. And it's a topic of discussion now. But I think the amount of people that rally around this community that we have between these 26,000 square feet and the gratitude that people express to you guys, you know, I think is something that I'm extremely grateful for, to put you guys in the position to impact so many people, like you said, like kids or even adults. I think that process for me, I'm super grateful for to be able to witness and see that on a day-to-day basis. So that's number two for me.
Okay.
I threw out the fact that I work with you guys and the whole staff as a number one. So I'm one up. You guys are up.
Okay. Is it my turn again?
Yeah, your
It
turn.
is.
Okay, next one, I'm going to say I am grateful for letting go of anger and resentment.
Oh, wow.
Good.
Yes, something I've held on to most of my,
Like a chip on your shoulder.
yes, childhood.
Cool.
Into some of my early adult life. So that was like, I mean, I also had therapy on my list. I feel like maybe
Hand in
they kind
hand.
of go hand in hand because that
I
was
think
the
we
first
all
thing
can.
I said.
We
was,
all can
yeah,
say like,
Yeah.
you know, therapy has really helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
As much as people will like, and I think sometimes if we do talk about therapy and you're a human and you make a mistake, I think sometimes people will be like, well, you lean on therapy so much and say that you're this product of therapy. Yeah, we're also human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're also going to make mistakes. Just because we seek assistance in how to become better doesn't mean that we're perfect.
Yeah.
And I think like everybody should learn that too. You know,
Yeah.
just
I
be a
mean-
better version of yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to hear you saying letting go of anger because that is actually way harder.
It's, yeah.
That is actually probably one of the hardest things a person can do from like at least my experience. That just to be able to like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like holding on to all that. Like we had a
Yeah.
conversation. Like it's like carrying a mountain on your back.
Yeah.
You know, like how.
Well, yeah, and there's a difference between like letting go of anger for other people and then letting go of anger for yourself.
How do you feel you've let go of anger for yourself? What were you angry at yourself for?
It's not that I was angry at myself, but more like I was angry at certain situations or circumstances that I faced like in my lifetime. And I know I haven't been here as long as you guys, but you always say don't minimize your trauma, so I'm not going to do that. But I guess I was angry with some other people in my life, and I have been for like several years, and I remember being labeled sometimes as like an angry child and like going to the doctor and my parents being like, I think there's something wrong, like, because they were like, she's so angry, but I wasn't. When you're a kid, when you lash out, that's like a cry for help.
Sure.
So I think like some of those signs were missed, and being a teacher, like I saw that all the time. And now even working with adults, like I can see it with them, like the way that they speak and feel about others and themselves is
Especially
usually a cry
about
for help.
themselves
Yep.
too, which is a tough thing to hear. But I think you have to correct that too.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
because they don't hear it,
Yeah.
right?
No self-destructive talk. I always say that
Yeah.
to people when they start to do like, you know, kind of like the victim. I'm like, listen, you can feel sorry for yourself. That's okay. But like, if you're going to have self-destructive talk during this session, I'm not going to allow it, you know? But I think, I don't know, what I was trying to say is like, I'm letting go of those emotions for my life, not because I want to make other people feel good about it, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Like selfishly selfless or selflessly selfish.
Is that a DBC shirt?
What?
That's a DBC
Is
shirt.
it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Second on my list was my health.
Yeah.
I think that there is one thing that we take, and I mean we as in like a lot of people, not, I don't want to generalize, that we take advantage of is the fact that we are healthy. You know, I heard it said the other day, like, you know, when you're sick and you're stuffed up and you feel like crap and like you wish that it would end, and then all of a sudden you can breathe again, your nose is clear. It's like you took that for granted before. How are you going to do it different? But for me, my thought is it's like, you know, one of my clients is dealing with her sick mother right now. You know, you have other clients who are going through illnesses. You know, you see individuals that can't be mobile and, you know, due to injuries or disabilities. And it's like, I think that people minimize the health that they have, and that there are other people out there that wish they were able to have like a sliver of what you take advantage of every day.
Sure.
Which, you know, I find myself like looking at it and being like, I'm a healthy 41-year-old dude. You know, like I'm extremely grateful that every day I'm able to walk around and do my stuff. Some days it's, you know, hard, you know, because like beat yourself up, but at the same token, I'm able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take one off both of your lists. I'm going to say the companionship that you have with your pet.
I put that on there too.
I think it's, you know,
Okay, can we talk about this
I mean,
this
we can
Christmas
talk
sweater
about it.
real quick? Look at this. Define naughty.
Well, she said, look at naughty. It's totally on that side.
Uh-huh.
He's not the naughty one. They're both naughty. I think it's the one thing that you look forward to every single day, no matter what your day was like, and you just walk in the door and they're so happy to see you. And I
Yeah.
think that's the most unconventional love that you'll ever feel. And I think that's something that we take for granted too. You know, we're like, oh, I got to walk the dog today.
Yeah.
You know, and I always say, like, and I try to tell this when you guys got your dogs, your dog will only have one owner their entire life, and you'll have multiple dogs. Make sure you give your dog that life worth living. You know, so I obsess about that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, oh God, I'm gone for 4 hours. What do I got to do with them to
Yeah.
make their day better?
Yep.
You know, and you guys share with that, like your experience with your dogs, I think is, you know,
It's life changing. I remember when it was probably like 2 months before we actually got Penny, and I told you I wanted to get a puppy, and I was like, but it's just like not the right time. And you were like, well, why not? And I gave like a list of reasons, whatever. And you said to me something about like, that's the only time you'll ever experience unconditional love. And I now understand what that's like.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. And you said something to me the other day too. It's like, I know obviously we all work like long, crazy hours, and I was feeling guilty about leaving Penny yesterday because I left her probably the longest she'd ever been. It was like 5.5 hours. And you had said like your dog has a nice warm like roof over its head. It has food every day. It's loved. It gets walked. And
They're
I was
grateful.
like, okay, like
They're
that makes
grateful.
me feel less bad.
Yeah. And my mom texted me that, and I was like, I feel bad. I feel,
Yep.
puppy parental guilt for not
Yeah.
being there with them, and they're just hanging out, sitting on the couch.
I I was never going to get another dog. Like I was like the one dog that I had, I was completely cool with never buying another one. I think like our other dog, my ex-wife and I's Beagle, she's still alive and kicking. She's old, but I was cool with not getting one, and I did not realize I needed a dog until I got a dog. And I mean, it was like this weird companionship void that was missing because like. I look at Finn and I look at his just from the first picture I saw, I was like, dude, this dog's got my personality and I don't even know this dog. And then like to take him out to like Crandall Park and just let him off leash and let him do his thing. But also the fact that I've noticed this lately, if I start feeling low, he is right next to me. And I think he knows, you know what I mean?
Oh, they have a little
feel it.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can feel it.
And like we went to Stewart's yesterday and I'm trying to eat my my fatty. And I feel this muzzle right here, and I'm just like looking at him, and I'm like, all right, dude. Like, I went back in, I got him his own fatty, and I'm just like, I'm never gonna not miss this. Like, it almost makes me, as strange as it sounds, it also almost makes me not want to do shit on the weekends, and just
Right?
like I'm canceling
I-
all bookings and runnings. I'm just hanging out with my dog.
I said it to Stoli today. I said this is my favorite part of the day is like this little half hour that we have where we lay down and he lays on my stomach and wakes me up and he just licks me, and I don't know if your dogs do it, but they put their paw on your arm as you scratch them, and that's a sign of they trust
Yeah.
you. So I mean, we could talk about dogs all day.
Yeah,
long.
I know.
we don't
Because
deserve
I mean,
them.
think about this. Right now, you both are smiling when you talk about your dogs.
Yeah.
True.
It's the thing that's going to bring you the most joy in your life,
Yeah.
but also the most sadness, because somebody said to me is like, if you had a law that you can make everybody abide by, and my law would be that you outlive your pets outlive you.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I have never had to do that, and I don't even want to think about it, but to give them this life worth living and taking them to the ocean or do those fun things, I think that's like purposeful for me.
It is, definitely.
Yeah.
I put it on my story the other day. My favorite part of the day is taking her on a walk somewhere where I can like not have headphones in. Like it's literally just
Yeah.
me and her. I like to take her places that are like scenic, and
Yeah.
it forces me to like get out of my house and actually go do something and like sit with my thoughts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I was at Lowe's the other day, and right when you walk into Lowe's, they have like the pet section. And they have this Nerf gun that shoots tennis balls for dogs. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like,
I need that.
I'm
Yeah,
I-
because you
I-
can't throw.
Okay, let's not talk about
I mean,
it.
that is the worst thing ever.
This
Athlete.
one time.
Good thing you ran track.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, who's up next? You are, Case, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I took away the dog,
yes,
so
you
like
took
Okay,
that's
dogs.
that's fair. I guess failure. Like I think
That was
failure
one of
leads
mine,
you
too.
to like your true purpose. And I screenshotted it. I shared it on my story the other day. And it kind of goes with the other things that I've mentioned so far. And it says, I am not the same person I was last year or the year before. And while that might seem scary because people stop recognizing me for who I once was, I remember that who I am changing into now is someone I always dreamed of.
So, question for you. Do you think it's fair for people to analyze you for growing into the person that you want to become and not the person that they're used to seeing?
Do I think it's fair? No.
Do you think it's right?
No.
Okay.
Do I think we're conditioned to like live and act and think a certain way? Yes. And I think most people we're all surrounded by think that way. Like we talked about it yesterday. Like people just don't see or understand the vision, and that's okay. And I guess I've come to a place in my life where, and I'm glad that I'm learning this at 24 and not in 10, 20 years where like I just don't care anymore, because I'm going to make the decisions that I know that are best for me, whether, again, that external validation, I don't need it. So,
Yeah, that's not easy.
no.
I think for me, I'll piggyback off of you. I think the suck, if you look at the scope of things, like I'm super grateful for the fact that it was hard. Because, I said it to my therapist the other day. I said, like, this is probably one of the hardest years I've ever gone through. But she said it's revealed so much of your character and who you are. And I was like, I already knew who I was. And she said, but those situations and your reactions or lack of reactions have revealed your character. So now you believe it. So I think, especially people don't want to go through failure or trying times. I think you have to appreciate and be grateful for the good times.
Yeah.
Right? What's the expression? You have to sit in the rain to appreciate the rainbow. Right? I think for me, like, to go through all that stuff really, really is important because it is the true meaning of growth.
Agreed.
And people who run away from failure and who don't want to experience failure, I don't think they end up being as grateful for the successes. I think
Sure.
if all you do is try and win without failing, but you're setting up soft wins, so to speak, like things like Chris said that one time, like you do hard stuff, but it's easy to you.
Yeah.
It's like, I think.
Yeah.
that-
He said that. And that was like a shot to your stomach.
Yeah, like it's like holy shit, like especially thinking about it, like yeah, he's kind of right when you say that out loud. But the fact that not being afraid to fail, you should be grateful to fail. You should.
And that was one of the things too that I said to myself is I've allowed myself to take my ego out of play and to be able to hear that, feel that, and then learn from that comment, something along those lines, and to be coachable and to say to you guys, hey, what do you think is going to work here? You know, hey, where should we put this? What should we do for this workout? And then allowing myself to have trust and saying that your way is the best way and it has to be all the way. I think the thing I'm grateful for is the fact that I can take my ego out of the play and then lean on other people to help me, because I don't think I've ever done that before in
Yeah,
X
that's
amount of
hard.
years. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
good at that either.
Yeah.
Let me go to the list. Okay, I say this phrase all the time. It's the real ones. Those are the people you can say like in your foxhole, or you can say those are the ones that will reach out to you at 5 a.m. and be like, dude, you're not yourself. What the F is going on? Call me. Come over. Those are the ones that will call you knowing you won't answer, okay? But they're just touching base to let you know, like, the lifeline is always still there. You know, and it's honestly the real ones are the ones who will call you out on your bullshit and say, like, you know, either happy for your successes, but, you know, they're not just there for the successes, they're also there for the shitty times.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of people out there who I wish had, you know, even a small handful of those people, instead of the ones that are constantly talking negative about the things you shouldn't do or the things that you should be, you know, like more realistic about.
Would you rather have 4 quarters or 100 pennies?
Yeah, I'd rather have those 4 real. I mean, it's the video I sent earlier this year from Coco. It's like I'd rather have those few people who I can trust and who trust me than half a dozen or more who just don't get it but are going along with the motion.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for the real ones. Y'all know who you are.
I like that. Your turn.
I already went. I already got 5.
What? No way.
I go with, I think I have one more. Because I'm grateful for the fact that we've been doing this for 9 years today. Today's like a 9-year anniversary.
Is it really? Like
Yeah.
today?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Actually established the LLC in the November date. I forgot what day it was, but I think to be able to do this for this amount of time and to learn so much that I would have never learned in a typical situation, I think really sheds light on character growth, people, relationships. I'm super grateful for the fact that I've went through it all. Would I do it for another 10 years? Possibly. But I think I've also learned so much to prepare me for the next 10 years if I decide to do it again like that.
I mean, because it's been even since knowing you since 2019, like it's been a blast furnace. I mean, you just in the short time that I've known you, I mean, we were in the Queensbury Plaza, COVID, completely, you know, flipped how you ran your business, and then everything post, and even at the beginning of this year, we started off this year doing an open house, and then now our house is like 5 times the size of what the first house was that we were
True.
trying to show off. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, here, check us out 3 months later, check this out, you
Yeah.
know, abracadabra. And it's like,
I wish it was like a magic trick.
I know.
I've been a lot quicker.
It's magical how we made it through.
Yeah.
What do you got, Casey?
I feel like I don't have any more like specific
Mm-hmm.
like topic points, but I kind of want to piggyback because you brought up support and then you brought up like the
Real ones.
The real ones.
And I think just like, I know we said we're off the table, so I'm not going to make it about the three of us here, but I guess just like the people that I've surrounded myself with currently, I think as you get older, you realize that people you thought you were going to be friends with forever might not be. And I mentioned it, I think, on the last podcast or maybe the one before, like, moving on from certain relationships doesn't have to be like this big dramatic like breakup with friendships
Yeah.
or relationships, whatever it might be. It might simply just be like distancing yourself, and you still see each other once a year, this and that. Boundaries was a big thing that I learned about this year. And I want to read another quote that I saved, and it goes along with what both of you said. And it said, if support doesn't come from familiar faces, trust the universe to send someone more aligned to replace them. And so, like,
That's
is
a good
something
one.
I
I like
read
that.
it probably like 5 times a week. Like, I have it saved on my Instagram. It's saved on my phone because I guess a year ago I never would have predicted that, like, I would be in this position today. But, like, the universe just works in really crazy ways. So,
Trust the process, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ever tell you the story about The Secret for me?
No.
Ever tell you like how I heard about it? No?
Go
Just
with-
really quick. Like I was in New York City and I was managing a gym. They pay me $30,000 a year, blah, 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 blah. I go through a year of it. And $30,000 in New York City obviously isn't a lot. It doesn't even pay
No.
for my apartment. So I worked 3 different jobs. And I was trying to go through like a little contract dispute with my bosses. These guys owned an IT company. One was a construction guy. So they knew nothing about the gym. They were just money. So our numbers in the personal training department were up always. And I just said like, listen, hey, can I get 40,000? And they were giving me a tough time. And $40,000 was like $50 extra a paycheck. And I had this one client, his name's Kevin Frederick. I'll never forget him. And he pulled me aside one day and he goes, dude, you're really negative. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, that's all we talk about is this situation for you. And I can see it in your face. He goes, you should read this book. And it was a secret, right? And at that time, it was on iTunes. And it was 7.5 hours long, right? And you have your little, maybe like iPad Nano.
Yeah,
sure.
Nano.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't. It was 2000.
It wasn't like a Walkman,
If it
whatever.
was 2008, the touch hadn't even come out.
Something
yet.
like that. So I was like, Kevin, I don't have enough time. So long story short, probably like 2 weeks later, I got fired from that job. So they hired somebody else to do that job, paid her, X amount of dollars to take on 2 of our roles, fired me and 2 other people. I moved to Myrtle Beach because I was dating a girl at the time. And then I'm in a gym one day and some kid goes, hey, you should listen to this book. And it was a secret 2 times in 2 weeks. So I listened to it. And I'll never forget, like you say, trust the universe. It was weird because I started to do more research on who actually thinks this way, talks this way, like Oprah, Jim Carrey, Steve Harvey, like the most successful people in the world. And it just changed the way you think. And I think if you can take one thing away from this conversation is to highlight all the things that you should appreciate. The fact that there are people that have it 10 times worse than you. The fact that, hey, there are people living in boxes in New York City or living in a subway. I don't know if you guys have ever seen stuff like that and witnessed it, but I think that's what gives me a soft spot is seeing it, but not having sometimes the means to help or change it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a motivating thing for me too, is like you really want to help those people in whatever capacity you can, whether that's you giving them $1, whether that's you not giving them $1 too. I think that's another thing is helping, but not,
enabling.
yeah.
Like Austin, Texas has become a real hub for everyone talking lately. And I was in that area and I remember the homeless situation down there was like, dude, they were so nice and all the business owners treated them like shit. And I mean, these were the nicest human beings. Like true story. 2004, I was at a concert in Austin and these dudes just walked up and they're like, hey, we're not trying to scam you. We just want beer.
Yeah.
And like,
I always give money to people that have those signs.
And he-
not gonna lie, gonna buy booze with this beer, with his money.
So like, and they were like, we can't use the quarters at the convenience store. And I walk in, I grab a couple cases of beer. I'm like, all right, guys, have at it, enjoy. I'm like they're human beings,
Yeah.
and I think that when you see stuff like that, it breaks your heart. I also think, like you said, you wish you could do more and like, impact them in that way to help them.
Sure. How does gratitude, we kind of like segue off this, impact your health?
Law of attraction.
Yeah.
Think positive things will happen to you.
How-
Think physically and mentally.
Do you think sometimes that like, oh, I just think positive and nothing happened, this shit doesn't work? Or is it just some fundamental thing that you just have to trust and be like, hey, even though I'm going through this tough time, I'm still going to read this book. I'm going to watch this quote. It's going to happen. I just have to trust it, right?
Yeah.
How come we go to school for 15 years and trust the fact that we're going to get this dream job that we always wanted?
Yeah, when unfortunately it doesn't always happen
But
that way.
but why are we so conditioned to think that way? Why can't we just say like, hey, I'm for 15 weeks, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to show up to work out. I'm going to eat this and I'm going to read this book every single night. And I'm going to trust that in 15 weeks, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. How come we won't do that, but we'll go to school for 15 years and hope that we have the job that we always wanted?
I'm going to go off of what Casey said earlier. I think the people ahead of us are the ones that conditioned everyone to be able to think that
Well,
way.
ahead of them too.
Ahead of exactly.
Sure.
It's like
It's generational.
It stole the word out of my mouth. It's a generational thing, and I think that as we learn that you can change these things in order to become better, that you don't have to learn off of the past. Like, let's be honest. Like 50 back when we were young was not 50 now. 70 wasn't. Like you look at like Sue, and I mean they're pushing sleds and all this other stuff. If you would have told like people back in 91 that 70-year-olds would be pushing like 180 pounds on a sled, you'd laugh your ass off.
Sure.
You know, education, everyone sees it. Like you don't need a formal education to be able to learn all the stuff that you're doing, especially nowadays. I think that going off of what Casey said, if you can break that cycle, it makes it better. And I mean, point blank, it's easier to do now than more than ever.
What did I say to you the other day when you were sick?
Something like this is why I do it, or I don't know.
I said we both were sick, whatever, for whatever reason, nothing. And I said to her, I was like, the hardest thing to do is just show up. And I think that's the thing that we all have to just really, really rely on, be grateful for the fact, is just show up.
Yeah.
Even when you don't feel the best, even when you don't have the best day and you're not in the best mindset, you're a human being, nothing's always going to be perfect. But why don't you just show up? Even if you're at 1%. Even if it's tattooed on you.
Yep.
No regrets. Not even a letter. She doesn't get it.
No.
That's okay.
Your homework is We're the Millers.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
actually, I know that.
Yeah, no
Okay,
regrets.
No regrets.
Not even a letter.
No.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, I got 7:18. Let's close this show out. What's the piece of advice that you want to send into the holiday season for people?
Okay. Count your blessings. Number one, I know that sounds cliche. However, do it. Actually do it. Actually sit down, like my old man used to tell me. Take a piece of paper, write it out. That way you can visualize it. And see what you're grateful for. Actually look at it. And some of you will realize you have way more in your life than you think you do. And be grateful for having that. And really, everyone just be safe this holiday season and reach out to someone you haven't talked to in years that you're just thinking of and tell them like, hey man, I hope everything's going good.
Sure. Do it for you, not them.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say slow down. To piggyback off of the advice that you just gave, I think maybe turn inward, think about what is actually benefiting you, who, what, whatever that might be, and put more energy into those people and those things instead of the things that are, I guess, taking the energy from you.
I would say take it all in. Like you said, be more present. You know, don't worry about the tasks at hand. Don't worry about like having to cook this meal or have to have this present wrapped or whatever the case may be, because I know we all stress about that. I would say take it all in, because somebody kind of shared this with me one time, is like, let's just say your parents are 60, 70 years old and life expectancy is 75, whatever. That means you have 10 more Christmases left. And we don't put it in that kind of
No.
context or perspective. And each year after you go through each one of those, it's less and less and less. And we don't know when that number is going to end. And I think if we spend so much time living in our past and in the future, we obviously lose sight of present day. But just take it all in, be appreciative. But I would also say tell people that you appreciate them.
Yeah.
And I know they're not doing it for external validation, but I think sometimes it's nice to hear people say like, hey, thank you, you've made an impact, or hey, I'm thankful for the fact that you're around in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I need that validation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Close the show.
Yes, sir.
Lucky puppy.
Absolutely. So follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you, Casey.
I like
for
that
the
you always point to me. When
I
you
always
say
point
that.
to you. You're the TikToker. Okay. Also, continue to share and repost the videos for Lucky Puppy. Every time you do the exercise and post and tag a friend, we will donate $1 to the Lucky Puppy Rescue. Both of us own Lucky Puppies. They're the apples of our eye. And we hope that all of you have a very safe and Merry Christmas, and we will see all of you next weekend.
Quick little
Yes,
segment. If you guys get a chance, you guys can come down. We're going to get a picture taken with Santa Claus. While we're down there, Dan's going to go to Victoria's Secret to grab a bra to help support.
Support the puppies and the puppies. All right. Who doesn't want puppies for Christmas? All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Jingle bells. Hey.
All right, that's how you close out a show. Bye.
We're the biggest at the table.